Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Reza.
Hey,
Nice to finally meet you.
nice to finally meet you. So we've met. We met
At DataCon LA.
at DataCon LA. That's right.
Yeah.
And what were you doing there?
I decided it was time to get back into the Web3 tech that I'd stepped away from after Green Deeds. I stepped away for 2 years. I was like, this doesn't feel right yet. I need to go and do other things and circle back when I feel ready. And I did, for some reason, go to DataCon LA. And I thought I was arrived late. I was freaking out that I arrived late. And it turned out I arrived just in time because I sat down and you walked out on stage and started talking about Kwaai. And I just felt like it totally aligned with what I need. I felt like it needs to start at the individual and then branch out from there, what we're building here. And that doesn't seem like what's happening with the corporate efforts. So.
Well, you were late.
I was late.
Because I was the fourth of,
Yep.
of four keynote speakers, but you were on time.
Yeah.
Because frankly, Scarlett, the others were. I think that was the talk that mattered. Yeah.
It was.
I repurposed that talk as a call to action for young developers like yourselves. I'm old and jaded. There are a few of us that are old and jaded. I think you're the archetypal volunteer, curious, high energy, and talented. Frankly, you don't know what's impossible. There are many of us that have learnt the things that are impossible. So those are the tasks that I give the young and curious in my teams and so on that I work with, because they'll achieve it and actually disprove that belief that it's impossible. So let's have this conversation about personal AI. Okay, let's have that conversation about personal AI. What's your contention is that personal AI is not achievable, or is it achievable?
It's achievable. I don't think it's achievable on the foundations we have today. And I'm really grateful for Kwaai, because I met Doc Searles from Kwaai. And had I not met him, I wouldn't be able to articulate my issues that I've had since someone showed me MySpace. And I was like, can we go out and climb a tree, please? I don't care. So it was really exciting to meet him and to articulate my issues with the foundations that Web3 is built upon. It doesn't seem like we're trying to build innovative technology on a broken system that needs to be rethought of before we can really have a personalized AI that we dream of, I think.
So talk about those what's broken. You list centralized architectures, the client server model, and so on. Are we showing it? No, let's keep the fireside.
Yeah, I'm cold now.
Let's keep the fire going, because we're getting a bit cool.
Yeah.
We go back one. There we go. We're just going to use the other slides as talking notes. Okay. So.
Well, I'm going to paraphrase from Doc Searles, because he's been a mentor for me, so I'm very grateful. But basically, we're building off of centralized architectures that with the client-server model, where my data and my information is not mine. It's on someone else's server, and I have to sign in and ask permission before I can get it. And it's vulnerable to data breaches that were not my doing. And
Yes.
it just doesn't seem like something to build off of. We need to rethink the underlying, what's going on underneath, and the way that I've been introduced to Project VRM and the Internet Identity Workshop. And there are people that are actually, I'm realizing that I'm not alone in that thinking, which is wonderful. And that it's a lot about the market and the advertisements that are fueling the internet today, and that it's more that they're using our data to make ads that don't apply to us, really. We don't care. And it's like, why don't you just ask me what I want? Like, why can't I go to you first? Why can't it start at me and I go find what I need? And yeah, so it's.
So when you sent me the notes on why it was the notes for this conversation, I put in there an extra bullet point: the asymmetry, the asymmetrical trust in the internet. When the internet was created, we thought it was this big philanthropic donation to all of us, but it was created asymmetrically. Businesses are trusted entities on the internet. Users, us, we're untrusted, and we have to assert our trust. We have to authenticate with every single business we want to interact with at every session. The creation of the username and password was probably the biggest blunder in the internet, and the authentication based on this shared secret is just so stupid. The businesses don't do that. Businesses, when they connect on the internet, they talk over a HTTPS, which is the secure protocol, and they are trusted entities. Why are they trusted? Because they jumped through a hurdle once. They got themselves a digital certificate. That attests to their trustworthiness. That allows them to talk SSL or TLS or over the HTTPS protocol. Consumers, us, we're untrusted. We're treated as criminals every time we connect. And so that's a fundamental asymmetry. It makes me feel icky. It's like walking into Best Buy and they ask you to look into your bags. No, I'm going in. I'm going to go and do some shopping. Yeah, we just want to see what's in your bags before you go in. Really. So everyone is unauthenticated and untrusted, and it upsets me each time when I have to interact with businesses. Is there a better way in which we can do this?
Yeah, I think so. I think it starts with personal, data sets and our intellectual being, our digitized selves. I think I'll paraphrase from Doc Searles, but it's called, he says the intention economy instead of the attention economy. I actually just started reading his book called The Intention Economy, and he actually used the phrase personalized data sets to say that we need those to build on top of to build what we want, what we dream of in the future, and what this can really become. I think of what the next age of personal AI. And it was really funny because I had written 4 weeks ago a blog post for Kwaai that called for personalized data sets. And I used the same phrase, but I had no idea about the intention economy or Doc Searles when I wrote it, which was really exciting. Just tells you that we're all on the same page. We just need to collaborate and have a conversation.
Well, you might be following online. Let's see. So where should Kwaai focus? We should focus our attention or our intention.
I think we need to, start with education. And I have a lot of friends who, like sustainability efforts, and they're a little iffy about, their digital identity, and they don't really want their information used. And I think that if we educate them on what it could become, and that there are movements and there are communities working to change it so that what they're dreaming of it's possible to do it. So I think education is important, and then talking about policy with Kwaai, and then the engineering part. I think Kwaai has taught me that there are places that we could start with now. There are things we could do now.
So this notion that we are, or maybe the younger generation is being frivolous with their own private information, and it'll be used against them later on. So I'm ambivalent about this, but what I feel um, is super important is recognizing what are your tools of the trade. Um, this is an old term, but I think it has new relevance now. Um, the notion that you can go to a job and you bringing a set of skills along with you, a set of know-how, um, and that's what you're going to wield. The relationship that you have with your employer is that I'm going to bring my skills along with me, and I'm going to work for you. You're going to pay me a salary. When I've gone, those skills don't belong to you. I take them on to my next job. Yes, I might have honed my skills. I might have sharpened those tools while I was on the job for you, but in the new job, I'm going to um, I'm going to take them with you. So, but the current AI, it's possible for your employer to build a model based on your work output. Let's say your work output is the way in which you answer emails. Maybe it's the way in which you negotiate contracts. In comes a contract, here's what I push back on. Hey, what is it? Maybe it's the way in which you grade papers, just looking around the room. Your employer can build a model because they have all that data. Here's the essay, and this is how you graded the essay. Um, any one of the software engineers, Brittany, you can, with that training set, you can create an, a model of a co-pilot for a professor that the college says, well, you know what, I can actually hire a junior professor because the senior professor, we've gone and built a model based on their work output for the previous for their previous 10 years, and now um, we've disrupted that relationship between employer and employee. So talk a bit about those tools of the trade, and I'd like your reflection on maybe the younger generation on you know, you said it was an educational issue, but how do we value that work output and that data?
Um, I think tools wise, I set out when I was like when I joined Kwaai, I was skeptical about that we could do anything coding wise today. I was like, wait a minute, don't do that, don't do that. But then, you know, fear, you got to go face your fears. So I went and researched and found a lot of the doctoral stuff, and basically came to the conclusion that we can start building our own data sets right now for anything that gets built later on, as long as we have the data sets that are represent us, and we have like our data in the digital world. Those are our assets. Like that's what is required for autonomy. So we need to make sure that we have secured that and made sure that it's private and trustworthy. For like, I want to trust that my stuff is private and secure. So I think there's ways to do that right now, but we need to build the data sets.
So you'll recall it was like 2-3 weeks ago we had a series of calls where we reviewed the progress on the early coding around personal AI. Colin Miller, who couldn't be here, he's actually in the savannah on an African safari. So he's but he kicked off some of the work, and we're looking forward to code contributions from others, and it's starting this process of creating your own private data lake, where you can own your own data, your own training data, and it allows you to train your own model and maintain it yourself. And some of the things that Mike talked about then building up the mechanisms, the APIs, the interface between your personal AI and maybe your employer's automation, your employer's AI, should be a formal process that respects your rights, respects their rights as well. And so, talk to me about the data lakes and.
So I proposed in a blog that we should build a data collection tool. That's one thing that Kwaai could do. We could figure out or discuss how to what do we want to collect and where can we put it. And in my that's what I'm going to set out to do. And I'm excited to hear Ray talk about, because I'm going to build my own thing. That's why I learned how to develop software so that I could, use it for myself first and then help other people once my house is protected. So it starts with the data sets, figuring out what data to collect, and at the same time, this tool can help educate and build trust in the technologies at the same time. So I think there's an opportunity if we focus on a tool at each stage to manage and help individuals build these data sets that will eventually train their models. I think that's where we could start as a data collection tool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what are these domains of data? So I described one, but I'd like to hear if they're more in the Kwaai.ai website. There's a video of me ranting on. In fact, I'm talking to an AI assistant in that meeting, but I'm talking about this notion of creating what the AI actually suggested was a communications janitor, somebody that could handle my incoming communications. But what would I train it on? I train it on all my email. And everyone's got an inbox, an email archive going back 10, maybe more. Looking around the room, 20 years, really? 30 years? Could be. So you've got this communication repository of your own private communications, but it's not only email; it's SMS. It's all your social media communications. So that tool could be an omni-channel communications assistant. So what would it? So we've collected up the tool. What can we do then? Well, we collected up the data in our private data lake. Okay.
Then ideally, in my mind, we have a foundational model called like a personalized foundation model. And I coined it the personalized learning model in my blog. But basically, it's only built on your data. It's only built on the data set that you had control over building. And it's only built on that stuff. So, so then you can trust it and you can move on. And I think in my mind, then you outsource to other models.
Yes.
Your AI outsources to other models to get other things. But it starts with, did I answer your question?
Yeah, so would you use a general purpose large language model and then refine or retrain with your own or with your own data? Or is this a whole separate language model?
I think that's something I'd want to discuss with other people.
Sure.
I think I'm skeptical and I don't know.
Right.
Well, why couldn't we take the approach of like how when we had the constraints of hardware, we miniaturized limits?
Right. We could miniaturize, exactly. Well, look, later on we'll talk about miniaturizing AI and bringing it down from the cloud, bringing it down to earth. That is a big initiative, a big a moat breach that is important. But let's see, how are we doing for time?
We're over.
We're over. Okay. I think that's a good segue into the following discussions. But I want to thank Brittany. Thank you so much for